status quo. We gonna buck the status quo. Oh, bucking the status quo. We gonna buck the status quo. Bucking the status quo. We gonna buck the status quo. Oh, bucking the status quo. We gonna buck the status quo. Bucking the status quo. We gonna buck the status quo. Oh, bucking the status quo. We gonna buck the status quo. The foundation leads the fight. The warriors lead the tribe. When the beat drops and the spirits rise, we find the truth behind the disguise. They want us to go away, only our hearts do we obey. The foundation leads the fight. The warriors lead the tribe. When the beat drops and the spirits rise, we find the truth behind the disguise. They want us to go away, only our hearts do we obey. No ranks, no chains, just unity. One tribe, one light, one destiny. No ranks, no chains, just unity. One tribe, one light, one destiny. Bucking the status quo. We gonna buck the status quo. Oh, bucking the status quo. We gonna buck the status quo. Bucking the status quo. We gonna buck the status quo. Oh, bucking the status quo. We gonna buck the status quo. No ranks, no chains, just unity. One tribe, one light, one destiny. No ranks, no chains, just unity. One tribe, one light, one destiny. Bucking the status quo. We gonna buck the status quo. Oh, bucking the status quo. We gonna buck the status quo. Bucking the status quo. We gonna buck the status quo. Oh, bucking the status quo. We gonna buck the status quo. Bucking the status quo. We gonna buck the status quo. Oh, bucking the status quo. We gonna buck the status quo. Bucking the status quo. We gonna buck the status quo. Oh, bucking the status quo. We gonna buck the status quo.
Check, check. Microphone check, microphone check. Hey, hello everybody in the Irreverent Warriors world and the Grunt Style Foundation land. How you doing? Good to see you this weekend. You know, usually it's a beautiful, beautiful day, but today is kind of a crappy, cruddy, cloudy, rainy day. But we're not going to have a crappy, cloudy...
It's all what you make of it. I think it's gorgeous out there.
Oh, well, somebody brought the rain jacket. I love it. I love it. And today we are joined by Roy from Irreverent Warriors in the Grunt Style Foundation, as well as Johnny Feltz, representing himself in the Jeff White Foundation and the Jeff White Skate Park, which is a skate park that we're going to talk about being built in Missouri, a state-of-the-art skate park that is being built in Missouri for a killed-in-action soldier, Specialist Jeffrey White, from the 1st of the 501st 25th Infantry Division, who was killed in action in Khost Province, 2012, Afghanistan. And some of his friends have gotten together. There he is. You can see Jeff White there, a real hero. And before he joined the 25th Infantry Division, before he enlisted intentionally to go to war, that's Johnny with being a goofball. Yeah. Hey, nice.
Yeah, that's
nice.
a maybe picture if ever I've seen one.
And there's Jeff. So Jeff was one of the most prolific skateboarders in Missouri before he joined the Army. And there he is hitting a gap that no one else could hit at a height and a distance that no one else could hit it. And he was headed towards professional skateboarderdom, but chose to serve his country instead, which I just think is phenomenal. So Johnny's here to tell us all about that skate park. And yeah, Johnny, so tell us a little bit about Jeff before he got killed in action. You know, he was a prolific skateboarder. We all know that. Tell us about some of the tricks he was famous for doing in Missouri.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me on. I'm happy to come here and represent this project. It means a lot to us in our hometown. And so this is a great opportunity to share what we've done in our town, in our community, with the base here, and hopefully inspire other people to pursue their skateboarding dreams.
Nice.
And so I'll tell you about Jeff, and I'll be the first one to tell you I didn't know him that well. He's somebody that I knew in my community. I got to skate with him a couple of times. But the most that I ever knew about him came from other people that he made an impact on in his life.
Wonderful.
Right. And so when I first met Jeff, he made an impact on me. And I remembered this forever. I remember when Jeff was killed, I was stationed on Guam, and I was following what was happening in my hometown. And I realized, wow, this guy was really the real deal. And as a skater, I met him when he was probably 14, in between 8th grade and high school. And I was a little bit older as a teenager. I remember at the commuter parking lot back in 2004, I guess. It was about the only place we could go skate where we weren't going to get hassled. And so I went there to skate, just kind of by myself, doing my thing. And there happened to be this group of younger teenagers there. And I thought, oh, awesome. Like, usually I'm here by myself, but here's evidence that our community is growing. These kids are here to skate. And I remember one of them out of the group of them was exceptional. And that was Jeff. And I'll tell you, what we've learned watching old footage, what people would tell you who skated with him a lot, is that he was really good with the nose of the board. He could do nollie flips, nose grinds. It was his specialty. And throughout this project, I'll say that, and if you follow us on Facebook, you could find this video. Throughout this project, Jeff's dad, Jeff Sr., pulled out all this old footage of Jeffrey skating for the first time in a very long time.
Nice.
And he had it digitized and put into a video that we could upload on social media.
Cool. And
gave everybody this wonderful glimpse of what Jeff's life was about when he was hardcore skateboarder. And what else can I say about him? You know, that day that I first met him we sort of all talked and just kind of the big conversation back in '04 was, we really need a skate park here. That would be great for us because we can be so much more in a skate park than we can in a commuter parking lot. And I just remember Jeff talking about that, and just the energy that he had was so, he could get people fired up. Like, we're going to build a skate park even if we have to do it ourselves.
Yeah.
That was the energy.
Yeah.
And
What we're here's the this is the groundbreaking of the skate park here. We're looking at the location of where it's currently being built, and there's been a lot of progress done. There you go. You can see the skate park and what will look like. There you are. Yeah, J-Dub. That was Jeff White's nickname, and very famous skateboarder here in Missouri. And there's, of course, Jeff, senior. That's Jeff's dad and Jeff's mother there. And tell me a little bit about their excitement around this skate park, Johnny.
great question. I didn't know Jeff and Paula before all of this started. I had moved back to Pacific, and when we came out with this idea and we were looking to get started to put it together, my best friend Jared, who helped co-create this project, reached out to Jeff and Paula to ask them, hey, we want to build a skate park. We want to name it in your son's honor. Can we have your blessing? And through the very beginning of this project, we had to show first Jeff and Paula that we were serious about this. And we probably wouldn't have made it where we are without Jeff and Paula. In fact, I know that to be the case. In our very first fundraiser, a lot of people came together in the same space to say, we believe in this. And from that point on, they were 10 toes the whole way. We were approaching the 10th anniversary of Jeff's passing, and they were each at different places in their lives, so many years later, and they decided, you know what? This is a good idea. We're gonna invest ourselves completely into this. And what has come of that is such a beautiful thing. They created the Specialist Jeffrey L. White Memorial Foundation. Jeff and Paula White created their own nonprofit based in the work that we did to build this skate park. And so I know without a shadow of a doubt that all of our success is paramount to their involvement, their willingness to grow this and to believe in this, because that gave us the gravity that we needed to attract more people to help make this dream come true.
How much total was raised?
Officially just over $480,000.
Wow.
However, we have an ongoing fundraiser that we launched earlier in the year, and if we succeed in selling all of our memorial boards, the total value raised will be over $500,000.
Wonderful. That's
Just
great. And
over.
speaking of boards, why don't you show us the skateboard? I know there's a bunch of different boards, but I want you to show us the skateboard that was made in memory of Jeff, and this is his signature here and his likeness, as well as and that's taken from a photograph, and there's his nickname, J-Dub. And I have one myself, so I'm a proud owner of this as well. And tell me a little bit about all the signatures, because I know it's been signed.
You bet. So I collaborated with SB Skates on this project, and this is something that I thought about early in our campaign that would not have been possible early in the campaign. But we were able to launch this as sort of a surprise final fundraiser in our skate park campaign. And my collaboration on this was also with Jeff's brother, Kyle. I said, hey, we're going to do a board, but it needs an authentic signature. And so he went through some records and was able to find an authentic signature, which we replicated here. So although nobody can have the actual signature, we can still make the first signature pro model Jeff White skateboard.
Amazing.
And so this board here represents our memorial board, but not to be outdone, it is a two-part series.
Oh, okay.
Where the memorial board is what we're doing as a fundraiser with the project, and we have a rideable, skatable version that was created for SB Skates that you could find on their webpage. And that version is to signify acceptance from the skateboarding community, to say that Jeff was a pro, right? It's an acknowledgement to say, posthumously, he's on our team, and he always has been, and he always will be.
And I love how he's doing a nose grind, because that was one of his signature moves. And, if he hadn't have served his country and gone during a time of war and volunteered to deploy and volunteered to be with the infantry unit, such as the 1st of the 501st, he might have just, ended up with his own professional deck. So he decided to put his country needs above his own, though. So
could you imagine that with his skill, being an Army skater?
I know, what a hero! Yeah, that would have been incredible. And I guarantee you that he skated a lot while he was on active duty.
Oh, because he was in Hawaii. They've got amazing. Wasn't he in Hawaii?
He was Alaska, actually.
Oh, Alaska.
Yeah.
I don't know about Alaska. I know Hawaii's got some amazing skate parks down there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Well, I've heard the story that Jeff actually had a pretty significant knee injury from skateboarding, and that he rehabbed his knee and joined the Army. So I don't know if he was skating a lot. You would have to ask some of the people that were closer to him at that time in his life. But I think he was really trying to take care of his knee to make sure that it was healthy for being an airborne soldier, which he was very proud of. Very proud to have made that commitment and to step up to that level and to make it through that school. That meant a lot to him. And so, as people who serve in the military, we all choose to risk these sacrifices, and we make sacrifices in order to do that work. And so, I can tell you from my own experience as a skateboarder, if I were to fall down and break my wrist, well, then I'm not a very valuable mechanic. I'm not able to lift heavy objects. I'm letting my team down. So I can't skate because I can't take that risk. Right? And then the skateboarder in me is like, screw that, I'm going to go skate.
Yeah, I skate all the time, and I shouldn't be.
I do other stuff that I should not be doing all the time. Yeah. I'm not coordinated enough to skate.
Yeah, and you were at the groundbreaking Roy of the skate park. You were there. Tell us, what was your assessment of the energy and the people and the excitement and the kids and everything?
Oh, the energy was fantastic. I'm going to give you a little backstory on this one, right? So when I joined the Army, it was right after Pat Tillman died. And Pat Tillman was one of my, I thought the world of the guy.
Because you were a football player.
Yeah, I was a football player. I thought the world of the man. He gave up an NFL career to go join the Special Forces, gave his life. I consider Jeff in that same that same level. That's a level of sacrifice beyond what I gave.
Totally, I agree.
Right, I was a young kid.
Hey,
you were nowhere.
Hey, you were at the Ohio University, my friend.
Ohio State.
Sorry. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna get skewered for that. That's like when I
Kelsey, get on that. Get on it, Kelsey.
Yeah.
Roast you.
Oh my gosh. Yep. Get me. But yeah, the Ohio State. My bad. But
yeah, I consider Jeff to be on the same level of people who gave sacrifices like Pat Tillman.
Yeah.
It's on a level beyond what. It's an important thing that people like that are willing to give up that life for service. That's a powerful message.
And it being Memorial Day weekend, what a better fitting time to talk about Jeff and to talk about his parents and his brother and to talk about this honor that he's getting in Pacific, Missouri, where they're building this. It's going to be the most sought after and destination skate parks in the entire state, if not the entire Midwest.
I would agree. Our hometown of Pacific, it's based right on I-44 in between Springfield and St. Louis in the state of Missouri.
Route 66.
Yeah, right. And
In the Ozarks.
This
In the
is the
Ozarks.
100th anniversary of Route 66, actually. It's the 250th anniversary of our country and the 100th anniversary of Route 66.
Oh, you guys are on Route 66?
Absolutely. And, I know it's 100 years later, but I think that our town is the only stop on Route 66 where you can see not one but two monster trucks up close and in person.
Nice.
Right? And
Nice.
I gotta say, I got to see a lot of monster trucks throughout the entire building of this project, and that made it a lot of fun. Anytime you add monster trucks, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, tell me about how far is it? Is it 50%? Would you say the skate park and being built?
No, not 50% in terms of construction.
Yeah.
In terms of the overall project, I'd say we're at 90%.
Really?
Because there was a lot of work before the construction. Construction phase is actually relatively short.
Yeah.
But right now, the construction is a little bit stalled due to archaeology and due to weather.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll explain this
They
piece.
found a dinosaur? Did they find a dinosaur underneath it?
No, but I do like where your head's at, considering how close we are to a famous dinosaur state park. We found the archaeologists found a couple arrowheads there, and so in our community, it's very important when we do excavation projects that if we find artifacts of historic native cultures, we proceed with caution so that we don't destroy more potential artifacts. And that is something that actually it comes down from the national parks through the grant that we got as a requirement. And, where I'm from, everybody will tell you, our mascot, our school mascot is the Indians. And we all know that where we live in the Merrimack Valley is such an important site for those things. And so we are on a little bit of an archaeological delay as well as a rain delay because it's May and, we've been getting rain every other day, a bit of a monsoon, and that obviously slows things down when the hillside is all muddy. And so it actually gives us a little bit of time to prepare for drier weather and to make sure that we're proceeding with enough caution. Obviously, the nature of this project, we're building this literal concrete monument for our friend Jeff, to honor him, but we could not do that successfully if we dishonored the past. And so the patience with the archaeology, I'll say, is so critical. A lot of people they'll get a little anxious and say, oh, what's going to happen? No, we can take our time with this. It's okay. We got to make sure that we get this part right. Because once the guys get into laying forms, building forms, spraying concrete, then we're off to the races.
So what's the opening date then going to be? July?
We don't know yet.
August?
We don't know
Okay.
yet.
Well, let me know.
Yes, absolutely. We intended, there was an intended meeting to discuss the project that got delayed a bit because of the weather. Right. The first week that primary concrete was on scene on Monday, this past Monday, we had a major downpour. All the rivers are up, and where we live here in Missouri, we understand this locally, but that does have an impact in our project at home, and so we're kind of waiting, but everybody's excited, and
how can donations be made?
Oh, great question. Donations, the best way to make donations is through our Zeffy page to the Specialist Jeffrey L. White Memorial Foundation. You can find that Zeffy page on our Facebook page. You can find that Zeffy page if you just go out and Google it. And so that's probably the easiest way to do donations on a wider platform. Otherwise, locally, You could mail checks. You could reach out to me directly. You could reach out to
and
Jeff
you're Johnny Feltz on Facebook?
Yep, I'm Johnny Feltz on Facebook. You could reach out to Jeff White or Paula White if you're interested in making a donation.
Or if they just go to the Facebook page, they should be able to reach out to anybody from there, right?
Yep, I'm one of the admins on the Facebook page, so it's pretty easy to get a hold of me. You know, it's hard to ignore me on that page because every other post is from me, and so. What I'll say is I'm not a social media expert. When we started this, I was not ready for what I had to do to help push this project forward. But I forced myself to learn, and I forced myself to keep up with the social media and with the media in general to make sure that people were aware of what was going on, to answer people's questions and to be truthful and honest about it, because the point we started at was we're just a couple of skaters and we're trying to do something that has never been done before in our town. It's been tried and failed over and over and over again to my knowledge, at least 4 decades.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're so passionate about this work and you've done such a good job on it. And I want to get into talking more about you and your career in the Navy, but I wanted to talk about, you were talking about donations, and thank you for walking everybody through how they can donate to this project. Speaking of donations, we've got Tony, commander from the VFW. He's come on over here, come around. He popped in and he's got a donation for Grunt Style Foundation and Irreverent Warriors. Tony, jump around. You want to tell us how much it's for?
Yeah, so one, we're very, very thankful for all the work you guys do. Getting Jeff's story out is part of what we help do. So to enhance the podcast studio, we have a check for $2,000.
Great. Thanks.
To get this going, and we want to, you guys keep doing what you guys do.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Tony. Hey, great seeing you, bro. Yeah, awesome. I love it when someone drops by with a donation. Anytime. Anytime. Thank you very much. And thank you, Roy, if you want to talk more about the VFW support that we've gotten here.
Oh, VFW's been fantastic for support. Just this morning, the Reverend Warriors and VFW partnered. We went around where we live, and we put flags at the graves of any fallen soldier we could find, not just soldier, I'm sorry, any fallen service member we could find in our community.
Oh, for Memorial Day.
For Memorial Day.
That's beautiful. I love that. I love it when Irreverent Warriors and VFW folks come together. Tony's got something to add.
1,000 flags.
Over 1,000 flags planted. And at 15 local cemeteries. Fantastic. That's the VFW. That's the power of the VFW right there, and that's fantastic. And they're one of our title sponsors as well. So good news all around. But Johnny, I wanted to get back into talking about your career. I know that you spent how many years in the Navy?
10 and a half, if you want to be technical about it. 10.5.
And I know your uncle, Mark, he's a good buddy of mine, Marine Corps buddy of mine. So you were in the Navy. And then what was your specialty? What'd you do? I think we saw a preview of it earlier.
I was a U.S. Navy diver. So my rating in the Navy was ND, Navy diver. I contracted in.
Did you look like that?
Most of the time, yeah. Yeah.
You know what I used to think of when I thought of Navy diver? Oh, that's what you really did.
That's actually my buddy Will Taft.
Once you picked up E6, that's what you did.
And so that was one of the things we did for a little bit of morale in the dive lockers. Is we didn't take things too seriously.
A little humor. Are you saying humor and camaraderie helped heal mental health? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
You
and
mean people in the military did dumb things to get a laugh?
Constantly.
Oh, we would never do that.
You know what I thought when people would tell me they were a Navy diver? I thought they dived off of high dives and did flips in the air. And then they traveled around and did like you know how some branches have like sports teams? I thought Navy divers like jumped off of high dives, did flips, and landed and went around to recruit people in doing that. But no, tell us what you actually did.
That is the most Marine Corps answer I've ever heard in my life.
I literally, the first guy I met who was like, I'm a Navy diver, I'm like, how high?
Right. But the real question would be how deep?
Tell us. What's the deepest?
Navy divers, we are deep sea divers. You know, we... depends on the mission, but we can dive up to 300 feet. and we have the Navy has special capabilities to do saturation diving. The Navy has capabilities to put a dive locker pretty much wherever they want to at any time.
What does a dive locker mean?
A dive locker would mean a crew of Navy divers and everything you need to complete a very specific mission.
Okay.
Right. So do you need to be on a boat? What type of diving apparatus, what type of diving system do you need? And one of my specialties, I was forward deployed for the last 7 years of my career.
Wow.
I was forward deployed overseas on Guam. And from there, I would deploy throughout the 7th and 5th fleets, which is everything in Asia all the way over to pretty much the Middle East is the dividing point there. So I would go from Guam. The furthest I ever went was from Guam to Bahrain and back, which had Singapore in it on the way there and the way back from Bahrain. So I deployed from Guam to Singapore to Bahrain, back to Singapore. And
how many countries did you end up hitting in during your career?
Oh, at least a dozen.
I joined the wrong branch.
Yeah.
I got to go to whopping 2 foreign countries, and they were both deserts.
And one of them was Iraq twice.
Yeah. The other one was its neighbor, still a desert.
Yeah, I got to go to a half dozen, but I didn't get to do a full dozen, a baker's dozen, as this gentleman has.
I mean, I could count my stop-offs, but they're still not as cool as Singapore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wait, so does each ship in the Navy have a diver on it to fix things underwater?
No. We're glorified mechanics.
Or is there like an underwater welder that's separate from an underwater diver?
It's considered ship's husbandry at the shipyards, naval shipyards. That's where a lot of diving repair services are done, and it's done either as repair or routine maintenance.
So if there's like a missile strike, from a submarine or something, you don't have a diver that would go down on a aircraft carrier and try to work on it from the outside or anything like that?
Not immediately, no. If you want to take one of the most recent, most famous examples of an explosive strike on a Navy ship, it would probably be the USS Cole, which occurred in 2001, just prior to September 11th. The USS Cole was attacked by terrorists in a small boat that blew a big old hole in the boat. And the Navy, with all their capability to deploy divers, in that scenario, it's not practical. So what they ended up doing with the USS Cole is they sent out a rescue ship that was able to lift it up out of the water.
Is this a tow ship?
No, it was an
Have
actual...
you seen a picture of this?
No.
It's like a rollback for giant Navy vessels. Like it goes underneath them and picks them up as a whole cradle.
And
Fascinating.
they transported that ship all the way back to Virginia to the shipyard. And even in that scenario, diving is not practical. You would want to put it in a dry dock and repair it. So
you pull it up out of the water, I guess.
So, yep, absolutely. You pull it into a dry dock and drain the water from it. And so in terms of like a big strike like that, divers would be very good for damage control, potentially.
Evaluation.
Right. If we had a patch big enough, just happened to have everything we need, we could jump in the water and apply it to the outside of a ship. But there's a lot of engineering to consider with highly sophisticated, ships, submarines. These are not just pieces of equipment. These are almost like living creatures, living entities within the military, these ships. The amount of people who pass through. So I was stationed aboard the USS Frank Cable, and then I did some time aboard the USS MRS Land. And these are submarine tenders, right? They're both forward deployed to Guam at the time. And if you think about the amount of sailors throughout the history of the life of a ship, who have been assigned to that ship, right? It becomes its own living entity.
Yeah, I mean, similar to battalions in the Army and the Marine Corps.
Absolutely.
I mean, destroyers are what, like 175 person crew on average?
Yeah, something like that. And those are consider a pretty light crew
Yeah, that's a
compared
small
to.
crew.
But just think about that in comparison, right? That puts them the size of the average Midwestern town. Like these
Yeah,
are
that's-
legitimately floating towns in the ocean.
And it's also smaller than a Marine Corps infantry company. So it's a small amount of troops, but they are giant. And I know aircraft carriers are massive. Like those are cities.
Yeah.
You messed around with HBOTs, right? The hyperbaric oxygen therapy.
Yes. Yep.
That's been
I did a lot
shown-
of training with that.
Yeah, that's been shown to really help a lot of folks struggling with post-traumatic stress. And I was actually reading that it helps a ton with TBIs. And I was also reading that you have a 95% higher risk of suicidal ideation if you have TBIs. And so I know that Will Wisner, the executive director of the Grunt Foundation, and Tim Jensen spend a lot of time working with hyperbaric oxygen therapy and getting awareness out and they've passed bills in a lot of different states working with Burn Pits 360 and a bunch of other nonprofits on the hyperbaric oxygen therapy. Were there any cases that you had where you're working with hyperbaric oxygen therapy and you saved lives, or you saw any lives impacted or affected?
Impacted and affected, most definitely. Cases where we saved lives, I think there was one specific case in my military experience, and that
Tell
was
us about it.
Well, that was a significant case of decompression sickness.
Okay, so this is a diver that had been under?
This was a diver that performed 4 dives, civilian diver, visiting the island of Guam. And I'll back up a little bit. At the time, I was stationed at a hyperbaric chamber that served the entire Marianas region. So we treated civilians and military alike. Anybody with a diving injury came to our chamber for treatment.
Fascinating. Okay.
And so in this particular case, she was using a dive computer and diving on a gas mixture, and her computer and her mixture were not aligned to her actual decompression schedule, how much time she needed to decompress for. And she was doing deep dives and she was staying a long time. And 2 days in a row, she did 2 dives each day, and then came to us at about midnight, midnight 30 is when we finally got her to the facility. We all got the call. I think it was on a Saturday, it was on a Sunday. We all got the call about 11 o'clock. Hey, we've got a treatment. 2300. Hey, we've got a treatment. Come in. And so we all meet at the dive locker. It's dark on the pier. There's nobody at the base, but we're, turning on all the lights and lining up the system and waiting for an ambulance to come in. And so in this woman's case, the master diver that I had, shout out Rod Atherton, MDV Atherton is great. We bring her in on a gurney, and he says, okay, we have an informed consent form that we need you to sign. You're gonna do hyperbaric oxygen therapy for treatment of this diving related injury, decompression sickness. And this lady said, I don't even know my own name. I'm not signing anything. And with implied consent, we went ahead and treated. And in her particular case, what I'll say about decompression sickness is that it is an overloading of nitrogen in your body's tissues.
Okay.
You've absorbed way too much nitrogen.
Okay.
And you did not take enough time to balance back to equilibrium coming up. You've just got way too much nitrogen. And quite literally, your tissues are suffocating on a cellular level.
Wow.
Because there is nitrogen residing in your tissues that oxygen cannot replace. So oxygen cannot get to your tissues and your cells. And if you imagine all of your precious organs inside of your body, everything needs oxygen. So if your liver is saturated with nitrogen, it's not going to feel very nice. And this could potentially end somebody's life. Nitrogen poisoning from decompression sickness, where they quite literally suffocate on a cellular level, right? Everything starts shutting down. And so I don't know what this woman's fate would have been without hyperbaric oxygen therapy. But in all of my experience, that is the most likely case where somebody would have died from a diving related injury, because she omitted 11 hours of decompression.
Wow.
That is a lot.
So there was a lot of
that's just careless regard.
there's a lot of nitrogen in there.
Yes. And so to consider that she was diving on a gas mixture, if you think 50-50, nitrogen in the air that we breathe is 79%. So if you wanted to reduce the amount of nitrogen that you're breathing underwater, reduce the amount of nitrogen that your body is absorbing, you can bring it down to 50%, from 79 to 50. You can balance it with an inert gas like helium, or you could balance that with oxygen.
Look at this guy. This is like a Navy guy that's like a chemist. You hearing this?
I mean, this is like hearing you and me talk about radios.
I don't know. This sounds like more science and more important.
Right. So when you're diving mixed gas, that's essentially the point, is to reduce the amount of nitrogen, which ultimately reduces the amount of time you need to decompress.
Okay.
And so with this woman,
short story short, you saved her life.
Yeah, I believe we did.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah. Long story short, you saved your life. Well,
you are talking way beyond the understanding of most of our audience at that point.
Right.
I can speak for 100% autos. You're talking way beyond our comprehension.
I love that we have these geniuses within the Irreverent Warriors Grunt Style Foundation world in our tribe that we just learn. All of a sudden, they start talking about something, and you're like, I don't know what you're talking about, but it's really cool.
I appreciate that. I can try to dial it all a little bit back. That is one thing that I've practiced a lot over the years. My work in private hyperbaric oxygen therapy, after I left the military, I was often speaking to people in their 50s and 60s.
And trying to explain it.
And trying to explain it to them in a way that made sense to them.
Yeah.
And slowly and to ensure that they fully understood what they were participating in and why it was going to be beneficial for them. Because a lot of people would come in and be skeptical and say, this isn't real. I'd say, well, actually, if you give me a moment to explain to you, I can assure you that it is real.
Yeah, getting more oxygen into your blood has to be a positive thing, right?
Well, the way I explain it to people is this. Like, your body's essentially a giant oxygen engine. Think about your car. What happens if you put better gasoline in your car? It runs better. If you put more oxygen in your body, it works better.
Yeah.
It's not hard to really dumb it down.
It's a super, super simple concept.
So if
the more oxygen you get, the more oxygen your cells receive, the better.
And so if someone wants to engage with this therapy, what would you tell them? I mean, obviously they could reach out to you. If they're in the IW community, you could educate people on this, right? If they are skeptical,
you
can educate them because you're the perfect guy to do that. But how could they get involved? Like if I live in Springfield, Illinois, what would you recommend? I would think probably a Google search would be the first way to start, because I know when I searched hyperbaric oxygen therapy on Google Maps, it popped up a whole bunch of stuff around me that I was not aware of.
Right. I'm going to drop a pun here. Dive in. Dive in. Do your Google search. You find out. Thank you. Are there any clinics in my area that offer this? Because hyperbaric oxygen therapy, the industry is very niche and the access to it is fairly limited. But if you were to look in the greater St. Louis area, there's a couple of places that offer this service. And now, usually in medical settings, you'll find some type of hyperbaric, and that is typically used for things like wound care, things that the FDA has approved hyperbaric oxygen therapy for. And by virtue of that, people are able to use insurance to cover their treatment. However, if you have an injury or an illness that is not listed by the FDA as approved for hyperbarics, you might have to find something off-label, which is what I specialized in after I left the military. I treated people who had suffered from strokes, people who had cancer. I treated people who had COPD, who had TBIs, who had PTSD, who had all of these things And in their life, they're just looking for some comfort, right? They are chronically ill. They are chronically in pain, and they have tried everything, and they're willing to try this. If you are one of those people, dive in, educate yourself, get into it, read about it, find it, create it, build it yourself if you have to. If you believe in this, and I'll talk to anybody who wants to know how it works, because I believe in it. If you believe this is right for you, do not give up. Go find hyperbaric. Go to it. Try it. But no half measures. You have to give it 100%. And oftentimes it can be very expensive. And oftentimes you need to perform rounds of treatments, 30 treatments.
And the pressure of the chamber is extremely important, right?
It is. And I think that there's a lot of theories out there in terms of the pressure. You know, you can relate pressure and depth. So if I cross that bridge, what I mean by depth is the same thing as pressure. So in a chamber, you expect at least half an atmosphere of pressure. And right now we sit at 1 atmosphere total, 14.7 PSI. And so you're the equivalent of half an atmosphere below sea level or under pressure. At 7 PSI, you're somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 or 16 feet deep. Right? And so there's different schools of thought. How deep do you need to be, or how much pressure needs to be applied for this to be successful? And I'll tell you that in the Navy, we went to 60 feet, right?
Wow.
That is 2.881 atmospheres absolute, right? That's a lot of pressure.
That's a ton.
And we're feeding 100% oxygen, and it's very effective.
Yeah, and I think that for our folks, just getting in one, I think, is the first step. And I just think, don't worry about any of that. Just go, just get in one. And speaking of getting into that, let's talk about some of the events that we've got coming up. I know on Monday, we've got a massive country concert in Nashville with Grunt Style Foundation. Roy, tell us more.
So we've got Velvet Rodeo and Savannah Ray lined up to perform a concert for us there in Nashville. Should be a blast. We'll have the Grunt Style Foundation party bus will be there for people in the VIP experience. Check that out. Lots of great podcasters. I'll be around to kind of share your message with.
Yeah, there's a lot of famous veteran podcasters that I know are going to be there with Janae and Will and Tim doing the VIP experience. And I know there's also going to be a lot of Irreverent Warriors folks showing up too for the concert. So it's fantastic. That's in Nashville on the 25th. So on Monday evening. So if you're anywhere drivable within Nashville, we highly recommend it. Tomorrow is actually the big Massachusetts hike. If you're anywhere near Massachusetts, check that out on our website, as well as Wyoming. If you're out west and you're anywhere drivable in distance of Wyoming, check that hike out. We've also got the next weekend, we've got the Normandy hike, which I know the commander-in-chief of the entire VFW is flying over to France to go to the Normandy hike. And we've also got the big Kansas City hike for those that are in the Midwest. And Roy, I know you and I are attending that, and that's going to be fantastic. So
Kansas City's going to be a blast.
It's going to be a blast.
Also, this weekend in Arnold, the VFW and the Marine Corps League are putting on a Memorial Day Ruck March as well.
Yep, there's a ruck. There. Is there anything going on in your world, Johnny?
This weekend?
Yeah. Being a dad,
I think it's going to be slip and slides and water fun, maybe water balloons. And we did a little bit of that yesterday, too. It was celebrating the last day of school. Did a little karaoke. Nice time.
Fantastic. And, I want to thank John Lanius for introducing us. I know he's also a prolific local skateboarder, and he's the one that kind of brought me in on the whole skate park thing, and we're so honored to be a part of that. Thank you so much to Jeff's parents for supporting it. thank you so much for coming on the show and for everything you do for veterans and everything you've done for your country. Definitely appreciated it. Roy, your 2 tours in Iraq. Thank you, sir, for you. And I hope you have some buddies that you're remembering this weekend. I know that I'm going to be thinking about primarily Lance Corporal Matthew Pathenos from 3rd Battalion, 24th Marine Regiment, who was killed in action in Fallujah, Iraq, February 7th, 2007. We will be doing a ceremony and reunion with our unit and our platoon and his parents on Monday. And so that's what my focus usually is this weekend. So thank you, everybody, for joining us on this wonderful Memorial Day weekend. Please remember those who gave all. And thank you. Stay out of trouble. And we will see you next week.
I got a challenge for everybody.
What?
Take your children, take your loved ones, take a minute at sunset or sunrise this week and just go out, watch it rise, and take a minute or two and just stand in silence and think about all the people who have given the ultimate sacrifice for us this weekend. That is the purpose of this weekend.
I love that. Sunrise or sunset, that is a fantastic time to do that, too. It's a great meditative time for me.
And it's important to take your family with you so they understand why we did what we did.
Yeah.
It's for those men who did it before us.
Yeah.
I agree.
Those men and women who did it before us. I'm sorry.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah. All right. Thank you all, and we'll see you next week. Have a good weekend. Be safe.